Okay, so it's going live now. I think it takes few seconds before it becomes visible to you in all your feed. I am just making sure that things are visible before we start talking about our content here. So, waiting time, and I think I will see it as soon as I go live on LinkedIn because I am watching myself. Yeah, so the event will start soon. Okay, so I can see this is pretty visible there. So welcome everyone. I think some of you can see me live on LinkedIn. Some of you are participating on YouTube, and I hope you can hear me well. If you can't hear me, type your comment. I will probably get it, and we start exploring from there. Yeah, so that's the idea. My intent here is to talk about your PMP related queries without going into any specific agenda. It's like something which is driven by you. If you have any specific query or your doubt related to PMP preparation, you might be already in the PMP preparation. We can discuss those comments and questions here. Some of you might be following our regular updates on YouTube and LinkedIn. We put questions, and you might be aware that we do have a website where all those questions are well compiled. So you may want to visit isenbridge.com/e-learning something. So let me show you that. I think in the meantime, I'm just trying to start with that particular site. So if I share screen, how do we do that? Yes, I know how to do it. Yeah, so we can share screen, and here you probably can navigate to tutorials, and in this particular section you can see our questions, yeah, which we keep updating here on a regular interval. So I think we have posted question number 130 today. So more or less we catch up. Yeah, we are here. But this is like a list of the question, but we have a little better tool which can support you in doing this question thing. And we will call it, we call it ECO based tool. So this ECO based tool help us in doing the question per ECO task. So you probably aware of that PMI takes PMP exam around 35 tasks, exam content outline task. So PMI conducts regular research with the help of a third party to understand what is popular in project management professional, what is needed in order to become a successful project manager. And that particular content they publish as an exam content outline. They test the PMP participant around that only. And those things are presented in the form of tasks. Project manager is expected to do this, do this, do this, like that. So that way we have a 35 ECO task. Your PMP exam is going to be exactly around them. Each and every question in your PMP exam is mapped to one of these tasks. And in this particular case, you can go to a task, you can study about it a little bit. We have a content around that. And after that, you can also take those task specific questions, yeah, coming out of our regular updates. And each question has an explanation and also an explanation video. If one goes through these content, yeah, around these 130 questions around, or plus if they keep updating, I think you are pretty much ready for your PMP exam. So this is one of the tool which you can refer to, and you can see that these questions are something going in detail here. Yeah, so each question has a follow-up video also. So if you watch each and every question, study about it, watch its video, you are done. You are done with your PMP preparation, most of it. So something you can try it. That's a possible resource you can use. Now, it's time for you to pick up your queries. You can just post the comment here, and we will get it in our chat content. Yeah, that is something I can see, hopefully, and we'll talk about your queries. Now, I predicted that we can talk about this particular thing, which is around agile versus non-agile. So anything which you might be confused about, how do we do predictive life cycle, how do we do adaptive life cycle, we can talk about those content as well here. Yeah. So take a pause in case you have a query. We start with those questions and answers here. I take a few seconds, and if there is no question coming in, then probably I will talk about the predictive and adaptive lifecycle approaches at a high level, which needs to be understood for a PMP exam perspective. But let's see if we get a query around it. We start from there, else I start with my default content. Okay, so I have something to talk about here. I think I explained the agile suitability filters to start with. Okay, so in your PMP content, especially if you have passed through the PMI authorized content, you might have seen when we look into our lesson 2, when we talk about how do we select adaptive versus predictive lifecycle or hybrid lifecycle. So we have one tool called suitability filter. Now, this is a tool, you can search a little bit about it in your Google as well, but I want to just quickly present this. Probably it will be useful for all of us. I'm showing you the slides now. Okay, so this suitability filter is something which can be used as a foundation of selecting project lifecycle. So when we are preparing for PMP or when we are working as a project manager, we are not attached to any particular lifecycle approach. We don't like agile, we don't like predictive lifecycle, we don't like hybrid lifecycle. What we like is that we like to achieve our project objectives. So the life cycle selection is a tool to support the project objective. So I, as a project manager, look at a various parameters to find out which particular life cycle will be suitable for my project execution. Now, in order to make that point, sometime when we look at our PMP exam content outline, we do look at as an example. It is not something which will get tested as a one-to-one level in the PMP exam. As an example, we see this suitability filter. So you can say there are various possible elements. In this particular filter, there are 9 elements which are grouped under 3 categories, which we need to see. And based on where we see our particular context, we can find out what kind of approach will be suitable for us. So for example, the culture aspect, we can understand, do we have a buy-in for agile way of working? So the more you are at a smaller number side, you are into the agile circle. That's something you see. The inner circle is an agile circle. Yeah, somewhere here. So the more you are here, so if most of your answers are falling under this, you can go for agile. So for example, if the culture has a good buy-in for agile way of working, the culture or the organization can trust the team, the decision making can be taken at a team level, the team is small size, they are pretty much experienced people, they do have an access to the business easily, they are working in the environment which is highly change driven, the criticality or compliance related things are less, and deliveries are expected to have incrementally. So if you go extreme these answers, you might be finding your project coming somewhere here, and that might be a good focus on working in the agile or adaptive manner. But if you find some of the answers are going out, yeah, so for example, you may have a situation where you see that, okay, most of these things are coming at an inner level. So say we do have a buy-in, yeah, we do have a trusting team, but decision making, maybe some decisions are at a team level, some decisions are at a management level, team size is large, maybe experience is moderate, not high, access to business moderate, likely to change moderate. So if you start doing that, probably you will start coming somewhere here. And if you are finding your project falling under that category, you probably need to take a hybrid approach. So what is hybrid approach? Where you end up mixing agile and predictive lifecycle together. So whenever we are talking about selecting the lifecycle, we can say that it depends upon the project context. There could be various types of parameter my company may look into, My organization may have a life cycle selection tool, and as an example, I can also use suitability filter. So this is something I just wanted to bring to start the conversation. And if we have any specific query, we can talk about that. Any general query about project management rather than this particular tool alone will be also good to start with. So yeah, that's the one thing you can say. You can apply the suitability filters thing in order to see the which life cycle will be suitable for my project approach. Now, another thing which we can also explore is that our project may not be fitting into a pure agile or pure predictive life cycle. That's going to be a usual thing. Things might be somewhere in between. So when I select a particular appropriate life cycle, I can't say that we will be in a one direction only. These pure agile or pure predictive life cycle, I believe, are more in a theory. They are not in the reality. In reality, we are somewhere in between. So we may have some element of agility needed, some element of predictive life cycle might be also needed. And that is also very much visible in the industry as well. So tools like Jira and all, now which are designed for agile way of working, now they are incorporating the approaches which gives you a roadmap and kind of Gantt chart also. So some element of predictive tooling is coming there. In a reverse, the tools which were mainly focusing on predictive way of working, they are also incorporating Kanban views and other elements of agile so that people can also work in that mode as well. So most of the project management tools are also giving facility to work in both mode nowadays, at least some element of it. And that's what we see in the industry, where people are not looking for pure approaches. They are looking for mixing of agile and non-agile approaches. So I think that's it. That's a starting point. And if you have a queries, we discuss any query related to this topic or your PMP preparation will be a good starting point. We can talk. And if nothing, great. Yeah, then we are good at least for this week. Yeah, and we'll figure it out. What do we do in the next sessions? So let me see if there are some comments. Sometimes we don't get the comment. Yeah, because sometimes these comments don't show up. So I probably need to see it in the LinkedIn directly. It happened last time. Yeah, and similarly for the YouTube. Okay, let me see if we have something there. Let me open up directly in YouTube as well as on LinkedIn. Yeah, if it is something here, I can pick up the chat directly from here. Yeah. So as of now, I can see that there is nothing. That much is very clear. Okay. So I think the vertical view was better, I guess. Today I started with trying with the horizontal one. I thought the vertical one is little different. So I am trying with the horizontal live. And the vertical live we did in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, that's something we did. Relatively, we got, I think, good notification that point in time. So people joined it. But yeah, let's think. Okay, so looks like the basic agile thinking is done, and no queries on PMP or a follow-up queries here. So I wait for another 60 seconds and then we probably close this particular session. The another thing which I can market till that time, if some of you are here, I also started working on something called interview series. We used to do that a lot before, but I think in between the job market was stable and people were not looking for interview guidance. But now we do see a demand coming up and people asking for some guidance. So what I have done this time is little more systematically, and we have a podcast series, which is like that. It's still a video, but one can listen it in a audio mode also, because I'm not too much focusing on the visual part of it. So if you are preparing for job interviews, especially for project management space, you probably want to try out our this project manager interview series, yeah, which we have started recently. Let me show you where you can see it. Yeah, and here it is. I am just showing it in a presentation mode, share screen. So this one is a episode 2. This is how it looks like. There are 2 episodes as of now, of around 15 minutes, and you can definitely comment, share your follow-up queries or something if you have any. So if you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, then probably you already know. If you are not, you may want to subscribe so that you keep getting notified whenever we post a new video on your project manager interview master series. So this is another new thing which we are doing. You can probably check it out. We have started similar series on safe related topics as well, where we are talking about some of the queries which we get in a scaled agile classes, and I'm putting that in the form of podcast and where we can have a conversation around it. So if you are interested in knowing safe in detail, you can definitely focus on that as well. Yeah, so that something is there. Yeah. So try that out. Yeah, that's an interview prep thing. Okay, we have a question coming from LinkedIn and saying, what is the difference between predictive and adaptive or agile? So say this is the basic project manager question which we need to be very clear about. The adaptive way of working or agile way of working is the basically assumed that we are focusing on change driven environment. We have a direction clarity, but we don't know exact details about our requirements, and our technology is also emerging. So we want to create an environment where team can explore something, and then the stakeholders are closely working with the team to find out what should we do next. So in a way, adaptive way of working, identification of a requirement and planning of a requirement is a continuous process. So if I want to work for 1 year in this particular initiative, every month I am trying to discover what should I do differently next month. There is nothing freezing happening in the agile way or adaptive way of working. So it is suitable for those kind of initiative where we are still exploring what should we do. Yeah, that's a adaptive way of working. Usually the default way we see in the adaptive is a Scrum way of working, which focuses on maintaining the list of requirement in the form of product backlog, prioritizing it regularly. You may have a high level roadmap and direction on top of it. And then you work in a time box iteration where you take some high priority items and try to finish them end to end and explore it, give a demonstration of it and move forward. You can think about more about digital products where you can easily visualize that such kind of things can be easily applicable, because the origin of this way of working is coming from software industry. Yes, it is getting adapted in other areas as well, but that's the origin part of it. That's the adaptive way of working or agile way of working. Now, what is predictive way of working? So you can say the predictive way of working is more or less, it is predicting the requirement and predicting the plan in advance. So you have a situation where you have well understood requirement and you have a well understood technology. You have been doing that kind of work. Historical data is available to you. And based on that historical data, based on your understanding of technology, you can predict how your next 1 year will go, for example. Yeah. So you can have a baselining of requirement, you can have a baselining of scheduling, so that you go to the stakeholder and you say, for example, it's a 1 year project. After 2 months of doing requirement analysis and planning, You present this requirement analysis and plan to your stakeholder, and they say, this is great, let's go with it. So you finalize it, says, okay, this is the requirement, this is how we will do. Afterwards, for remaining 10 months, the stakeholders are just relying on that particular plan which you shared with them initially. So they are not much involved because they have already given you the approval on the initial 2 months, and they may only check on various milestones. Every 2 months, 3 months, you have a review thing, and they tell you that if you want to change the direction, then come to us, else we have already given you the direction. So the stakeholders are clear, teams are also clear, and they have understanding of requirement well. Then we predict the rest of the project. There could be still changes, but they need to be less, maybe 5-10% only. And we work in that mode that is called predictive life cycle. Many a time in an agile word, they also call it waterfall. You can say a waterfall is a predictive and agile is adaptive. Now, in reality, we may never have 100% predictive life cycle and probably 100% adaptive life cycle or a pure agile life cycle. What we have is a little bit mix of it. Maybe we start with explorative 2-3 months. After that, we finalize the requirement and we run the remaining 6 months in a pretty predictable mode. So you can see in a 1-year project, for initial 6 months, I could be in a more collaborative way, but for the last 6 months, I am in a predictive way. That is, we call it hybrid. So hybrid approach, which is going to be the most prominent because of the customized nature of each and every organization, where one default approach may not work for them. So we design our own approach, which takes element from agile way of working, some elements from predictive way of working, and that way of working is called hybrid way of working. Now, as a project manager, when I have a project at hand, when I understand my enterprise environmental factor, I need to choose what kind of project life cycle will be suitable for this particular project. And that activity is called project life cycle selection. So whenever I get a new project, I may have a project charter, I may have a contract, I may have a business case, I will look at the characteristics of that project. What is a percentage of change happening? What is the stability of requirement? How frequently stakeholders are involved? What kind of expectation they have? What kind of visibility they have? And based on that, I will select or I will design an approach, which I can say I will tailor the project life cycle for a given project. So hopefully this gives some clarity. If not, you can put a follow-up query. Okay, so because it takes time for a query to reach here, so I take a pause in case something is coming up. So, hi Noor, welcome. Yeah. So can we say, so Noor has a follow-up question. Let me put it because it's relatively big. So can we say fixed price contract is good for predictive and time and material type contracts are best for the agile? The answer is more or less yes, until unless we get into nitty-gritties of it. So we can say, if I want to do a fixed price contract with someone, most likely I want to have a fixed requirement also. So say fixed price with set of requirement, definitely I need to have a predictive life cycle. Now you may say fixed price without set of requirement, then you probably need to fix it in some other way. So you can say, give me 10 people for 10 months and this is a fixed price. That will be actually a flavor of time and material rather than a fixed price. So it is easy to visualize predictive life cycle by thinking about some flavor of fixed price contract if I'm working in a vendor customer relationship. And majority of agile projects are time and material, or some variant of time and material with some performance commitment, time and material for some deliverable commitment, time and material with some limitation of the overall project duration. So some mixing will be there. Yes, in your software projects, can we have fixed price and time and material both? There is a possibility. So say you have a product which is well designed, you may give a demo of the product and you tell the customer to buy it as a license. They may buy the customized, the ready-made vanilla product as it is, and for that they may give a fixed price to you. You can say, we will give you a vanilla or as it is ready product, and we will do an installation for you. We will give a demonstration of it. For this, give me a fixed price. That is possible. And if you need any adaptation further, if you need any customization further, that we will work on a time and material basis. So yeah, in that case, you have a portion which is pretty much fixed price or a predictive, where you have a complete exploration of your deployment or explanation of your current product deployment and implementation, followed by you have time and material thing which is coming as a customization part. Yeah. So great point, and we can say that these things are pretty much mixed up in the real project life. Yeah. Okay, so agile, predictive, adaptive, time and material, fixed price, that is something seen. Yeah. So can you explain what is conformance cost, what is non-conformance cost, and where it is used? That's the question coming in. So for our PMP exam preparation, this is used when you are doing quality planning, when you are preparing quality management plan. Now, somebody will say, why don't you do 10-time testing before you release? Or other stakeholders saying, guys, just do it. Don't do too much testing, just release it. Why are you wasting time in testing again, for example? So I, as a project manager, is trying to find out how much detailed testing I should do. Someone is saying we should train everyone so that they are doing perfect job, and we should hire very, very talented people so they don't do mistake. Another stakeholder is saying, get the average skills people, let's get them moving. We are not launching space craft. We are just working on simple thing. Let them just do. We will see what the product comes at a later. So there is nothing right and wrong, but there are various things where I can work with skilled individual, where I can work with multiple test cycles, and there are different situations at hand. Now, as a project manager, I am doing quality planning. So one of the things which I can use for guiding my quality planning is, what is the cost of failure? Yeah, which is usually call it cost of non-conformance. If I don't meet customer expectation, if we have a defect or deviation from customer expectation, which we are saying we are not meeting quality. Quality not meeting means we are not meeting customer expectation, or we are not meeting compliance expectation. That is a quality in simple word. So what will be the cost of it? How much loss we will have? That is called non-conformance cost, cost of not meeting not conforming to the quality which is indirectly specification or expectation of the stakeholders. So say you make a product, and if it is non-conformed, the whole product get wasted. You have a full scrap. Then you will say, oh, it's a very high. We need to make sure that we don't create a product which really get into dustbin, something like that. Or there is a big loss to the financial loss to the user if you have a error in your delivery at the later stage. So you are working in a regulatory space, banking and finance. If you do a mistake, maybe government also get involved, and the customer also feel very bad, and you may lose a brand image. So you understand the non-conformance is very expensive for you. Yeah. Now, when you have a non-conformance very expensive, then you want to make sure you invest sufficient time in avoiding the defect, conformance. So you are avoiding the defect from going to the customers. Yeah. And you are doing all those things to ensure that product meets the quality standards. That's a conformance cost. So usually, based on the cost of non-conformance, I will identify how much investment, how much level of rigor, how many reviews I need to do before I say this product is ready. Yeah, so that whatever I do proactively to make sure that my product meets the specification and customer expectation, that is a cost of conformance. So say we train our people, we do reviews, we follow checklist, we do multiple round of internal testing. All these are cost of conformance. Now you can say that if I'm a small e-commerce store, I probably do little amount of conformance, because for me, the cost of non-conformance is also low. If something goes wrong, maximum 1 or 2 order will go wrong. I will call and discuss and resolve it. But if I am a financial institution, I need to do a lot of quality related assurance, because I need to make sure if something goes wrong, it can have a big cost to me. So I will invest a lot on conformance related activity in my organization. So this is how we visualize it, and we create quality related activity. We create quality management plan based on these two elements. Yeah, so that's a quality planning topic. Okay. So another question is, how do you choose which agile framework work for the project success? So I would say, at least for PMP exam, they are not getting into comparing agile A with agile B. Yeah? They are not doing it. So for example, you are not comparing Scrum with scaled agile, or scaled agile will scale at Scrum, or scale at Scrum with less, or those kind of comparisons are not coming. So it is something left on the project manager to find out what is the suitable framework for you. So it again, more or less the parameters remains the same. What is the predictability? For example, time boxing way of working or flow based way of working, that is something is discussed in our PMP content as well. So time boxed way of working, like scaled agile, like Scrum, like less, like Nexus, most of these framework are basically focusing on time boxed way of working. You pick up something, you finalize those requirements for a given time box, you prioritize and do it. Yeah, so that's a one way of working. The another way of working is a flow based working, ongoing work based working, which is more suitable for ongoing support and ongoing influence related work. So you can say you are doing customer support, you are supporting your on job, you are supporting your stakeholder in learning about the product. So there are a lot of incidents, a lot of requests coming in. You may not be able to do a time boxing. You may want to go with flow based approaches. So from a project management for PMP exam perspective, generally for creating a new product and doing research or a kind of innovative work, we follow time boxed way of working. And for doing support, sustenance, and continuous work, we follow flow based way of working. So these two are explained in our PMP content. When you talk about the project scheduling, we talk about all three types of scheduling for your PMP exam. One is a predictive life cycle scheduling, which is your critical path method, Gantt chart way of scheduling. The another one is a time boxed way of working, which is, you can say, loosely coupled with the Scrum way of working. And the third one is a flow based working, which is done with the help of Kanban board. Yeah, so that's something we learn in our PMP exam. Yeah. Yeah. So Noor is asking, what is meant by potentially shippable product increment? That's the word they use, product increment. Yeah. So the idea of this word is that at the end of every iteration or a sprint, you should be producing deliverable. From a team perspective, you should be ready as if it can go to the end customer. So we can say we are ready to release it, provided end customer wants to take it. And that's why we use a word potentially shippable product increment or potentially shippable product, because we don't know, like, is our business is in the need of releasing this product. That decision will come from them, and that decision can come later also. After reviewing the product, they may say, okay, I think we want to wait for another sprint before we release it. But from a team perspective, they should not be postponing the thing that, this kind of work we will do next month. So the intent here is finish your work, make sure this product is ready to release. Yeah, that's something we can say it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so this is something we can say. Now, what is the difference between potentially shippable increment versus MVP? So I think for a PMP exam perspective, so minimum shippable increment, I think that is, we call it MBI, minimum business increment. That's the word that PMP content will focus on, rather than minimum shippable increment. Yeah, that's, but more or less the same thing, minimum business increment. And the minimum viable product is also the another word. So see, it's a little confusing topic, and it is all about the words. For us, more or less the intent as a developer, as an engineer, as a project manager, the intent is more or less delivering something. That's the thing. Now let's look into the situation. So whatever I visualize, I want to work in the product, I put into the product backlog. Yeah? So product backlog contain, based on my roadmap, all those things which are visible to me, features, stories, whatever is there, I put into a product backlog. Now, if I'm working in a very uncertain market and I'm not very sure even this product will be successful or not, so I want to identify, even if it's not a good product, even if it is not functioning end to end, even if we are taking a lot of shortcuts in our design and development, but I want to create some basic product and throw in the market so I can learn what the market real needs are. So I create those kind of items in my product backlog and I prioritize them first. And I say, when these items, and they should be small, very basic in nature, maybe having a lot of shortcuts in it, technical shortcuts in it, and maybe having some manual processes also in between. But I prioritize them in such a way so they can become a small packet which can help me in sensing what customer want. That particular collection of my product backlog items, I develop them first, and that is, I say, I am doing MVP, minimum viable product. The intent of minimum viable is, it is something which makes customer try it out. Yeah, so they really want to do something, but it is done from the perspective of learning rather than earning, which means it may have a lot of gaps because you are not thinking of making the customer flow smooth. You are not even clear customer needs it or not. So you prioritize based on discussion. There is no clear-cut thing, this can go in MVP or this cannot go in MVP. But we need to remind to the stakeholder, the intent of MVP is creating quick learning. That's the intent. And you put that product, you push it, and you learn a lot of things. And those learning will help you in refining your product backlog, maybe killing the product also. You can say, thank you, this is not making sense, or maybe drastically changing your product direction also. That's the intent of MVP. Hopefully, one iteration of MVP gives you sufficient learning. Sometimes one iteration of MVP is not enough. You may end up doing 2 iterations of MVP, but you figure that out after that. You can say, okay, now we have a good sense of what customer really want. Then you probably refactor your MVP. Maybe you throw away that MVP part of it, that small code which you written. You may build on top of it, or you throw that, doesn't matter. And you are saying, now we want to incrementally release the product. And incrementally, we want to give a basic product which customer can use it, and we can also make some money in to begin with. And then we will have a second increment, which will also customer can use it. We will also make some money out of it. With each increment also we are learning. It is not like that learning has stopped, but now our focus is earning. Our major focus is not learning. Our focus is now learning and earning. Those kind of things, we start calling it minimum business increment or minimum shippable increment. We are saying that, okay, now it is something which makes difference. Customer may want to try out the new version of it. And by doing it, we are creating the incremental steps and creating our product roadmap. So things which are progressing towards my product vision, the milestone in my product roadmap, which are progressing based on satisfying customer requirement, are your MBIs or minimum shippable increments. MVP is basically needed for doing the learning part of it. Now, in general, all of these things are coming from product backlog. All our product backlog items, they are getting planned in a sprint only. They are getting demoed, they are getting released, and you are picking up those feedback in your backlog refinement meeting only. So you can say some releases, I will tag them as an MVP to communicate to the stakeholders that, guys, don't expect too much from here because we are learning. And others, after that, the learning is over, I start tagging them as an MBI or a minimum shippable increments, where we communicate that these are proper products. They are just getting built incrementally. That's it. Yeah, that's the whole idea here. Good. So this is the another thing. So we have a question here. Yeah, interesting one again. So can you explain the configuration management and difference between change management and configuration management? So say, think like this. The intent of configuration management is, say you have a document, yeah, and this document, you have a 50 people project team. You want to make sure 10 people in your project has a role where they can access this document. 20 people can view this document, 10 can view and edit, and remaining 20 should not be able to see this document. Yeah. Now, you want to make this document available to right people and protect it from the other people. Now, you use a system which is called configuration management system, which helps you in managing your artifact. Yeah, that's the one thing. So you can say, I will think like a Google Drive. You put a document, you provide rights to some people, you give read and edit rights to some people, and you don't give a right to some people. And that system ensures the appropriate people can use it. One requirement, one satisfaction of configuration management system. Another thing is, if someone opens it, out of 10 people, someone opens this document and they start changing something and they save it, you want to make sure the new version get upgraded and the previous version also remains there so that you can track what all changes has been done. And you also want to ensure that the other people who are interested in it, you can tag them. So the automatic notification goes to those people that this document has been changed. Going forward, you need to take the latest document. So whenever they are taking a document, they are taking a latest document now. So I ensure everyone has a consistent understanding of latest artifact. This all as a system is done with the help of configuration management system. And I can have a plan to identify who should have an edit right, who should have a delete right, who should have a view right. That is called configuration management plan. Simple. Now, this also relates to change management or change control. So the word we should use a change control here, because I know PMI content is also get confused between change management and change control, but I am just taking it as a question as a change control. Now, a change control also relates to configuration management. Now, there is a scope document. I have a edit access. I'm a business analyst. I can go open and edit it. I have a right as per configuration management plan. But should I really go and change it? Has my manager given me a go ahead to really go and change it? That is your change control. So change control is ensuring the integrity of any new idea coming to us, applying the appropriate decision making to identify, is this change is a really beneficiary or a waste of time? And based on that, appropriate approving is done so that people can go ahead and change it. So you can say the business side of approval of the change is your change control. The technical part of ensuring the editing, ensuring the versioning, ensuring the read access rights is your configuration management. So these all work hand in hand. Usually it is also said, change control could be a subset of configuration management, because configuration management talk about the technical thing and change control talks about the business part of the approval. Yeah. So that's a change control. The word change management, gradually it is becoming more and more clear in our PMP content, PMI content, is more about enabling the users to get ready to use your product. That's the word we use, change management, which is like, I have a product ready and users are finding difficult to even try it out. So providing them training, providing them mentoring, setting up a support center, that kind of word, we call it change management. Yeah. So that may also relate here, but overall, getting people ready to use our product so that we can make money out of it, we can create outcome out of it, is called change management. So these are the three things together. So it's Noor is sharing something. I saw this information on the YouTube Change Advisory Board as an emergency committee, since they are immediately assisting the project and project managers. Yeah, we can say so, but I don't think there is a very industry level uses of these words, but in your content might be there. Yeah, no comment. Yeah, I don't think it is relevant for PMP, but you might be finding it relevant for your day-to-day working. Yeah. Okay, great. So I think we covered some part of the content. It takes little time to warm it up because everyone get a notification before the question starts coming in. But yes, yeah. So the question is, I'm also not clear, managing change as the change process. This statement is, I'm not sure what is the question. My question is, to perform change management inside the change management. So there is no change management inside the change management. What I'm saying is, the change control could be a subset of overall configuration management. Yeah, forget about the word change management for a while. The configuration management and change control are interrelated. Yeah, that's something you do. And we can say the change control is more about taking an approval for editing a document, and configuration management is to create a history version and only allowing authorized people to edit it. That is the difference between configuration management and change control. So we can differentiate that. Yeah. That's the thing. If something else is the question, then please type it again, and a little probably something which I can get it. I am not getting that clearly. Okay, so anything else, anyone around your PMP topics or the questions which we are posting? I'm hoping that you are following our more or less daily videos, weekdays videos, where we put a multiple choice question for your PMP. We post it on YouTube. We also put a video explanation of it. We also put in our website. You have a consolidated information available to you in the eyesanbridge.com tutorials. So you can see all those questions together. You have a grouping as per the exam content outline task as well. You can try that out as well. Yeah. And if you want to keep getting updated continuously about our new questions, do subscribe if you have not done it already to our YouTube channel. Yeah, that will help you to get the frequent updates as soon as we publish those content. Yeah. Okay, I'm checking on LinkedIn. Sometimes they don't push the question directly here. So let me see if there is some question which might be pending. I think there is something wrong because I could see, yeah. So for waterfall type of project, how do we change the scope at a later stage? So waterfall or a predictive life cycle project, how do we change in our project should be defined by us as a change control plan. So say, whenever I work something, I work with you and say, okay, we will work on this way, and this is what I'm planning to do. And somebody will ask, what if you cannot execute as per the plan? So we can say, okay, if I want to suggest something in a change of the plan, I will come to you and discuss it. Yeah, that's how we do it. So start like this. In a predictive life cycle, say we have a 1-year project. So initial 2 months, just as an example, you work extensively on a requirement, you work extensively on a milestone scheduling, and you agree with this. And stakeholders are also very collaboratively working with you in the initial 2 months. And after that, they agree that this is what we want. You got it right. And they give a sign off on it. Now, at the same time, you ask, what if these things will not go as per plan? When should I contact you? Yeah. So they will say, okay, let's agree that if these things happens, you need to take approval from us. Don't do something which you want yourself. Because any logical person will understand that project is a temporary endeavor and it is working in an uncertain situation. And for a long duration, things can change. So we need to have an agreement about it. Now, things will keep changing every other day, but every other day, those stakeholders are not available. It says, plus minus, you can do it. But if you are changing our milestone date, then discuss with us. If you see a risk of more than $10,000 impact, discuss with us. So those agreement is called change control plan. Now, my organization may have a ready-made guidance for me as an organization process asset. I take it from there, or I create formal or informal understanding that how do I probably proceed for the change. Now that is called change control process. So I document it in my project management plan in a predictive life cycle. Now, whenever the new changes, new ideas are coming, I as a project manager evaluating, is this something I can adjust based on my running plan? Because changes are happening every day. It is not like for each and every change I have to go. Say someone has to start work today at 9 a.m. The person has taken unscheduled leave. So I need to readjust his activity for tomorrow. There was a material which are expected to come today, but now it is getting delayed by 2 days. I need to readjust that material and other things to accordingly. So that is my job as a project manager. I need to handle those kind of things. But if this material is going to impact a live session or an important milestone which were expected to happen after 1 month, then I probably need to talk to my stakeholders, say the material is coming 2 weeks late, 2 days late. I'm proposing that we change our demo by 2 weeks later. Else we need to do some alternative supply which will going to cost us more money. Now tell us what should we do. So that kind of things where I want to take a formal advice or an approval from stakeholder is usually defined as a change control process. So depending upon the situation at hand, depending upon my stakeholder level agreement, depending upon the power given to the project manager, my organization will decide when the project manager should come to us. And by that, we put those things together. I submit it as per the flow defined in a change control plan. So probably they will say, put a change request, put an impact analysis, show us impact around these areas, make sure these expert has seen it in advance, and involve these type of experts as a change control process. And when they have given their view, then present it to us for an approval process. That's it. So we define it. There is no default. Yeah, there is no default. Your organization may have a default. That's there. So you take an organization default and you update on top of it. That's how you do change control. Okay. So do the team called definition of done after the control process verification is done, or we say definition of done only after customer validate and accept the deliverable. Yeah. So this is little difficult. Yeah, this is difficult. You probably have to define your DOD in an aspect. Now, how usually done? By default, if you are thinking from a project management mindset, you can think definition of done is more to do with verification, and probably the validation thing may come as an iteration review and going forward. Yeah. So you may show done stories in an iteration review. Iteration review is a better presentation of validation. Yeah, that's a by default thing. Now, in general, as part of your definition of done, you do expect product owner also accepting the user story. It is not necessary the internal team only doing it. Now, it depends. Product owner is considered as a team member in your project, or it is considered as an external body. By default, in a Scrum way of working, Agile way of working, we consider product owner as a part of Agile team. Now, when the product owner is considered as a part of Agile team, definitionally, the DOD becomes as a verification only, because Agile team, from a perspective of business as well as technical things, they are accepting that this user story is completed. But it is not involving those set of stakeholders, those people who are probably outside the project team. They will only see it when you give an iteration demo or release the product. Yeah. So when you do an iteration demo or release the product, then your outside stakeholder will also see that particular product. And that is the validation part happening. And you can say that, yes, user story has been validated because it has been accepted as the final, accepted as a usage thing. Yeah. So that's a usual thing you can assume until unless the question shows you very critically. So DOD is more like a verification step, and iteration review is more like a validation step if you map it accordingly. Now, can I have a change in my definition of done where I also include customer delivery and customer acceptance, and then only I will mark the DOD done? Possibly, yes. Yeah, you can do it. But that is not the way Scrum is designed. As we had a previous question coming from Noor, potentially shippable product increment. So till the time the done is potentially shippable, it means it is still a potentially. It is not yet ready and accepted by the end customer for a usage. Yeah. So it's safe to say the DOD is a verification step, and iteration review and the future releases will result into validation step. Okay, so good. So final 5-10 minutes. If you have more queries, we can definitely pick them here. If you're putting your comments on LinkedIn, I'm not sure if I'm getting them, because seems like it is not visible to me. So if you see me not looking at your question, it could be because of you are putting them on LinkedIn, and probably the YouTube is a good idea. If you wanna join us on YouTube, that probably will solve the problem. But yeah, in case someone has put a comment on LinkedIn and you see me not responding to it, so somehow the update is not happening well, even when I am trying to put that there. Yeah, so YouTube is something, if you are already following our YouTube channel, you know how to reach it. Even I put the comment on YouTube in your LinkedIn about the YouTube URL as well. Yeah. Okay. How do we collaborate as a sponsor? How do we collaborate with a sponsor who is not releasing the fund furthermore in order to do the tit for tat as a PM? Can I say also behave rude towards him? So see, it's like this. Who is paying your salary? Sponsor. Yeah. And the sponsor says, I don't want to pay you anymore. He doesn't want to pay you anymore. That's it. It's his money. Yeah. So project is not your initiative until unless you own the company. It is for someone who is giving you money because they have a reason for it. And if they don't want to give you money, you can't do it. That's it. Yeah. So we need to understand overall context. Now, it could be a sponsor, it could be a stakeholder. My job as a project manager is I am here to serve my stakeholder. Yeah. So that is something I am focusing on. Serve as to my stakeholders. Yeah, that is the whole idea. If my stakeholders are not ready to get served, then I can't serve them. That's it. Yeah. So explain Agile to a layman. Yeah, we discussed Agile little bit in the beginning, but in a simple word, you can say that you are working in a situation, you are going in a slippery surface. That's the example I gave. So you find difficult to take a big steps. You are taking small steps, and you want to make sure that you are not falling. Then you take the next step. You also sense the ground. Then you take the next step. That is Agile. Yeah, you have a proper known surface. It's a clean. It's a very good. You take big steps. You run quickly to pass through that. That's your predictive life cycle, because you can see the surface is very smooth. I can jump, I can walk, no problem. I don't have to take feedback again and again. Yeah, that's it. So whenever we are working in this situation where things are emerging, we are working on a slippery surface. We don't know there is a how much mud is there, how much ice is there, how much situations are there. You go step by step, you learn from each step, and you improve accordingly. That's the Agile way of working. Yeah. Now, how do we do it? Each step is called iteration/sprint. You can say you have ideas, you have a goal to go cross this particular area. So that's your thing. You want to say, I want to go there. In between, you have a big surface. And you can say, I will take one step at a time. That is called sprint or iteration, time box step. And I take a one step, and then I will discuss with you that how this step has performed. And we will take a learning in account, and then we'll take a next step. Then we take a next step. Then we take a next step. And this is how we will cross this particular surface. Yeah, that's a sprint by sprint. We improve. If we find the surface is going good, we probably start taking big steps. If we find the surface is very risky, we may further reduce this step. Those kind of things are Agile way of working. That's it. Yeah. Okay. So hopefully it gives some idea, Agile, Predictive, and other part of your project management content, which helps you in getting ready for your PMP exam. Okay, while explaining about monitoring, you say change of probability and change of responsibility. I'm not clear, Noor. This is something. So while you are explaining monitoring, you said change of probability, change of responsibility. I don't know. I don't know I don't remember the context. Yeah, I am not sure what are you talking about. Yeah, probably you can help me to get it clear. Probably we can work on this. Okay, so final few minutes. If you want to push your query, please do it, because we are approaching our time box of an hour so that we close. But this is something we can definitely pick it up before we close this. Yeah. So do put your queries. I will close the backlog if you feed it. But if there is nothing, we close in a minute or so. So does the project manager decide the way of working, waterfall or agile? The answer is the project manager definitely play a significant role in selecting the project life cycle. The answer is yes. At the same time, in organization, we cannot have these kind of thing in a black and white. I definitely work with my organization style also. I may want to do agile, but my organization PMO, my organization stakeholder may not agree to it. Yeah. So I need to understand or work with them. I can't unilaterally decide. So for a PMP exam, what we can assume, I got a project information. Maybe inside the project information as a contract or charter itself, some life cycle is recommended, maybe or maybe not be recommended. Based on my project information, I will do my homework and I will use my organizational tools. Usually my organization will give me a project life cycle selection tool also. But that life cycle selection tool will need various inputs like how much complexity is, what is a overall volatility, something. So based on my project study of first few days, I will fill that tool. And based on that, the tool should recommend me a life cycle. On top of it, if I am not in agreement with it, I will put a tailoring to it. But I need to take that tailoring to my PMO, my stakeholders, and buy in the agreement. Yeah. So I can't just say that I will take a call, guys, you remain relaxed. So I can't say that because I need to fit into the organizational boundaries as well. But yes, I am but I am the key person to do this particular job. Yeah. So, interview related thing, we can do a one-on-one interview conversation. Yeah, that is something I have been proposing nowadays. So we did one for Scrum Master. I think it will get live soon. It's a free of cost thing, but you need to, you can keep your identity hidden, but we will record the conversation so that it can be useful to others as well. My recommendation is we need to do a retrospective whenever the interview is over. Probably we will identify, it could be a mismatch in expectation also, it may be not fitment also, it is not always because of my skill. And many organizations are also nowadays delaying the decision making because of economic situation. I have been discussing and people are sharing with me, everything went good and they are saying that we will give you a joining after 15 days, after 1 month, and we will take a decision after 10 days, something like that. So there is some kind of organization or industry environment is also happening where things are getting postponed. So you need to figure it out what is working for you and what are the challenges, but it is very difficult to just say that this is the situation. Okay, so these are the last two questions, I think. Can you help me understand the high level about cost control? So see, if we are working in a predictive life cycle, as thanks to Noors, we also understand predictive life cycle may be mostly linked with fixed price life cycle also. We want to make sure that we finish the project in a defined budget. Yeah? So as a stakeholders, they want me to monitor the cost on a regular basis. For a PMP exam, the earned value management is used to show cost control things. So it is basically more concerned about predictive life cycle. Because in a predictive life cycle, when I know my scope is this, and I want to get this done in a cheapest possible way, and I don't want to spend more money about it, because I know what I want. In the adaptive life cycle, when I don't know what I want, it is difficult for me to focus too much on cost control because my things are emerging. So usually in a predictive life cycle, I will do variance analysis. I will focus on this is the money I was expected to spend and this is the real money I have spent. I will talk about from a PMP perspective, I will do earned value management. We have a videos around it. I will keep estimating cost performance index and I will keep estimate at completion, which is different than budget at completion. So if you are focusing on PMP, please do look at cost control topic. If you are our client, you have sufficient amount of videos. So focus on that. That gives you a good understanding of cost control. If you're working as a project manager in that environment, fixed price environment, stakeholder want to see cost variances very frequently in that kind of situation. Okay, so does product owner attend daily stand-up meeting in Agile? Who will prioritize the backlog within iteration, the Scrum Master, team, or the product owner? So this question, if you relate what Scrum says, we can easily answer. If you relate what Scaled Agile says, we can easily answer. But if say what is a PMP says, we need to figure it out. Yeah? It is nothing black and white in project management. We need to find out what is the appropriate thing. But by default, if the most of the context are not given, most of the framework recommends everyone should attend a daily stand-up, full team, product owner, scrum master, and the team members. Product owners are more there to clarify things. The basic discussion, the main ownership or the player in the daily stand-up is a team members. So team members should do it. Scrum Master can facilitate it, but Scrum Master not necessarily always facilitating it. It's possible only team can do it. And product owner should be available on call basis there only, because they may have a clarification which product owner has to explain. That's the usual agile way of working recommended. The iteration backlog is not a business backlog. Iteration backlog is a how part of how are we going to implement our selected product backlog item. So iteration backlog is prepared by agile team, maintained by agile team throughout the iteration, and it is getting discussed in the sprint planning meeting. It is frequently getting discussed in a daily stand-up meeting. So iteration backlog is owned, maintained, monitored, improved, adapted by team. And Scrum Master or a project manager in case of PMP should make sure that they make the team capable of taking care of it. Product owner may not even understand the statements of iteration backlog. Product owner understand product backlog. So product owner will be focusing on reprioritizing, refining, and supporting the product backlog. Yeah. So that's the idea. And fortunately, especially if you go through our programs, we make sure that you also develop agile core understanding rather than only focusing on PMP part of it. So yeah, you can say that this is how we can see. For a PMP thing, we can customize it a little bit, but that's a default thinking which might work if the question is not giving any deviation clues. Yeah. Great. I think good for today. And I probably close for today, and we can have more conversation in our next week. Next week, we'll see on Thursday evening or Friday evening. I try to do one of these 2 evenings. So we'll do session every week. Yeah, exact days, we'll figure it out as we go along, and we will take it. Yeah. Okay, we have a final question on a Women's Day, I guess. So why some organization is especially mentioning at a job portal of recruiting women PM rather than selecting men PM? No idea, but most likely nowadays the diversity is a in thing, and organizations are trying to get some diversification so that they can inculcate creativity in their organization as well as team environment. And sometimes when you have a specific diversity requirement like this, might be triggered by diversity, might be, yeah. I don't know, and we need to ask that organization only. But yes, diversity is a in thing nowadays. Yeah. Thank you. Keep commenting on our YouTube comment. I will see as much I can contribute to your queries, and do prepare for your project management interviews as well as for PMP exam. And do check our YouTube channel where we are posting new questions related to your PMP preparation in the form of questions as well as for a project manager interview preparation. Yeah. Thank you for participating. Yeah, it was a nice session. At least I enjoyed. I hope you also got some value. See you soon next week on our YouTube or LinkedIn place. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.